In this video, I want to share something that so many people struggle with, not just in business, but in life in general. It's something that holds a lot of people back. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you some real tangible takeaways that can help you understand what this is. And that problem is the imposter syndrome. So before I get into this lesson on the imposter syndrome, I suppose first and foremost to just give you some context of what I'm doing with the channel and why I'm actually doing it. I love teaching, I love coaching, and I want to share some principles that I use with my one-to-one clients, that I use with my group clients, that I use with executive teams and people that I go in and work with at a group level, at a one-to-one level. And not only that, a lot of these concepts I have used for myself. Over the last 21 years, I've been building my own businesses. I've been coaching so many different people from health and fitness to begin with. I had a health and fitness business, sold that just a couple of years ago. So I've been working a lot on myself, working with a multitude of different people, from people who wanted to get fit, strong and healthy, to business owners who want to grow and expand their business, from people who want to understand themselves better. So a lot of the principles that I want to share in this channel is not just for business owners, but for people in general who can take these principles and apply it to their own life. Now, as you can see from these videos, I want this channel to be kind of raw, unedited, not B-rolls and fancy, like different things that you see a lot of times on YouTube. So I want it just to be as raw as possible. And I want it to be just as free-flowing as possible. I take some notes, but most of it I'm just sharing from experience. So if these concepts resonate with you, if you feel that a lot of these things appear in your own life and in your own business, drop it in the comments. If there's things that you would love me to cover, drop it in the comments also. And again, as always, if you do appreciate what I'm sharing this channel, like it, subscribe, and share it with somebody else that you know can learn from some of the concepts that I'm going to share in this channel. As I said, raw, unedited. As you can see, I'm not filtering these things out, I'm not cutting these things out, I'm just keeping these things in. So what I want to share with you today is the imposter syndrome. So many times from my own experience in my own life, I would feel like an imposter. And it was something that held me back. And I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really know the psychology of what was going on. And that's what I want to share with you today. I want to share like the psychology a lot of the times of what's going on when we feel like an imposter. So the entire universe is working to bring you back to authenticity. So what does that mean? So I'm going to share 4 principles here that'll help you understand what that actually means. And when you start to understand this and see this, you can start to regulate yourself and bring yourself back to authenticity. Bring yourself back into balance and get you to be you so that you can show up in the best possible way for yourself, your business, your family, whatever it might be, and whatever area is really important for you. So when I say the entire world or the entire universe is trying to bring you back to authenticity, it's something that a mentor of mine said one time. And I wanted to see what that meant. I wanted to understand what that meant at a deeper level. So when we feel like an imposter, and if it's something that resonates with you, drop it in the comments. Do you feel like an imposter? Where does it show up for you? When we feel like an imposter, if we begin to analyze when it shows up, if we begin to analyze why it shows up, we can start to see what's really going on underneath the hood, okay? So one of the biggest things that we will experience when we are being or feeling like an imposter is it'll start to pop up in our psychology. We'll start to hear it. And a lot of the times we hear it in that voice. It's the quiet nudge of the intuition, of our intuition saying, you're not being yourself. You're not being authentic here. So our intuition is the unconscious becoming conscious. It's the voice within that's trying to get us to see the other side. So whenever we launch into something without like due diligence or looking at things properly, our intuition a lot of the times is coming online and screaming, trying to get you to see the other side. If you only perceive a positive, it's trying to get you to see the negative. If you only perceive a negative, it's trying to get you to see the positive. Your intuition is the unconscious becoming conscious. It's trying to guide you to be you. So when we start to pay attention to our psychology and we start to pay attention to that inner dialogue, that narrative that's going on inside our mind, we can start to see when the imposter syndrome comes online. So I've shared time and time again, the imposter syndrome is just a comparison trap. We're comparing ourselves to somebody else a lot of the times. So when it starts to come online in our psychology, you'll get the quiet nudges of your intuition. Your intuition is trying to guide you back to be you. When we don't pay attention to our intuition and our psychology, we get it in our physiology. We tense up, our energy changes, we're not feeling like ourselves. When that is prolonged over a certain period of time, then there's a breakdown there. Like you might get that in terms of sick, cold, flus, whatever it might be. There's a breakdown because that's a stress. It's a stress to the mind, it's a stress to the body. You're not getting to be you. There's two forms of stress, and I might share this in a different video. Eustress and distress. Eustress is wellness promoting. It's when you get to be you, living your own values, do the things you love. Distress is illness promoting. It's when you don't get to be you, you're living in somebody else's values, you're not being yourself. So your physiology a lot of the times will also guide you to see, right, I'm not being authentic here, I'm not being myself. I start to tense up, my energy's different, it might be constricting instead of just flowing and being yourself. 3, it'll show up in your sociology, it'll show up in people around you. Now, this happens a lot, and this will happen at times when we might view someone as being negative and we might try and condemn that person or people for them maybe giving us feedback. And as I always say, all criticism is feedback, and that feedback a lot of the times is trying to guide you back to be you. So it'll show up socially when you're not being yourself. Whenever you start to put yourself out there and you start to be the big I am and puff your chest out and act like from an ego standpoint, people are only too happy to bring you down again. People are only too happy to give you that feedback. People are only too happy to say things about you in order to kind of help you regulate yourself if you pay attention to it, and use that feedback and use that criticism, as feedback to guide you back again to be more authentic. So here's the thing, and a caveat on that. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be judged anyway. So whether you are promoting yourself in an egotistical way, whether you are saying things in a different way, whether you are putting yourself out there or being this type of person, you're going to be judged. You're judging me right now. So you're going to be judged no matter what you do. So why not be judged for being you? So it'll show up in your sociology. When you're not being authentic, when you're bigging yourself up above your true self-worth, people see that, people feel that, and they will only be too happy to bring you down again. In Australia, I think I call it the tall poppy syndrome, where if you build yourself up and you big yourself up and you're getting too big for your boots, as they say, they're only too happy to cut you down again. They call it the tall poppy syndrome. So what I'm sharing for you is, how can you start to pay attention to all of these things? How can you start to pay attention to your own psychology, your own physiology? How can you start to pay attention to everything that's going on around you socially, so it can help you be you? It can help bring you back into authenticity. The fourth one then is theology. So if we're not listening to our psychology and it's giving us a quiet nudge, if we're not listening to our physiology and it's showing us in our energy that we're not being ourselves, if we're not listening to it in terms of sociology, people around us telling us, then theology, universally, a lot of shit begins to happen. So if we look at these 4 ways of how this helps us be authentic, we can start to pay attention. And we can start to guide ourselves back to authenticity. And I shared this time and time again, everybody wants to be loved for who they are, but most people are afraid to be who they are. And who you are is you being your most authentic self. It's you sharing your thoughts, it's you sharing your inspirations, it's you showing up as that version of you that you want to show up as. It's you getting to be you. But nobody's going to love you for who you are if you're not being yourself. So when we understand these 4 quadrants in authenticity, you can get to understand the imposter syndrome. And when you get to understand that imposter syndrome, it's going to help you in all areas of your life, help you in your business, help you in your relationships, etc. So when we go above, you, me, and every single person internally has a true self-worth. We know what that is. We feel that, we know what it is. When we go above our true self-worth and exaggerate ourselves above our true self-worth, we're not being authentic. That's the imposter syndrome. When you go below your true self-worth and you minimize yourself below your true self-worth, you're also not being authentic. And that is also a form of the imposter syndrome. So all like fair exchange, business growth, sustainable relationships is built on sustainable fair exchange. But if you're up here projecting and looking down on other people and not being yourself from an egotistical standpoint above your true self-worth, nobody wants to be around you. Nobody's going to connect with you. Nobody wants to do long-term relationships with that sort of person. Again, when you're below and minimizing yourself, below your true self-worth, what do? You start to repel people, because a lot of the times you're needy, you're not living up to your own values, you're not being yourself, and you're minimizing yourself. Now here's the thing, and I'll lean into this a wee bit as well too. When you're minimizing yourself below your true self-worth, you'll accept things that you wouldn't normally accept. You'll accept standards that you wouldn't normally accept. And you will pedestal other people who are above your real self-worth. And when you start to pedestal other people, you try and live in their values. And when you try and live in their values, you minimize you. And what happens a lot of the times is you'll start to resent that person. And the resentment for that person is usually not because of this person, it's because of you, minimizing you and not being you. And that resentment will build and build and build and build and build until you get back in the sustainable fair exchange so that you get to be you. So all of these symptoms are teaching you to be yourself. And that's why I said at the start, the universe is trying to guide you back to authenticity. Everything's working on your behalf, but a lot of times we can't see it. So how can we begin to use these principles so that we can see it? So when you exaggerate yourself above your true self-worth, you're not being you. You're projecting who you are and projecting your values onto people and expecting other people to live according to you. When you're below your true self-worth and you're minimizing yourself and you're not living up to your own values and your own standards and being you, again, you're not being yourself. Those both states are the imposter syndrome. So analyze your thoughts at those times. Most people will say the imposter syndrome is a good thing. It means that you're stretching yourself, you're getting yourself out of your comfort zone, etc. Yeah, there can be elements of it as well for that, for sure. But I want to understand it from a deeper point of view. What's actually going on? And what I've found from the multitude of people that I coach and work with, people who are running big businesses with big teams that have to go in constantly, do presentations, do talks, other coaches who go out and do talks, etc. When I've analysed their thoughts and analysed when the imposter syndrome comes online most, it's when they're comparing themselves to somebody else. It's when they're trying to live outside of their own expertise. Like if I was to come on here now and start to talk about stuff that I haven't loved, I've got no experience in, I haven't been involved in for the last 21 years, a business owner, coach, a father in health and fitness, mindset, human behaviour. If I started talking about stuff I have no experience in, I'm going to feel like an imposter because I'm not going to be me. I'm going to be projecting and trying to be someone that I'm not. And the imposter syndrome is going to come on full on. I'm going to feel that. So you will feel like an imposter when you're not being yourself. You will feel like an imposter when you're comparing yourself to somebody else. So anytime that it comes online, anytime that you start to feel it, listen to the quiet nudges of your intuition and your psychology. Feel it in your physiology. How's it beginning to show up? Are you tensing up? Do you feel tense? Do you feel restrictive of yourself in terms of your energy? Can you relax and flow and just get to be you? See it in terms of what's going on around you. How are people and how are things trying to get you back into authenticity to be yourself? So the imposter syndrome is something that stops and prevents a lot of people, but it can be easily resolved. It can be easily resolved when you stop comparing yourself to other people, when you stop pedestaling other people and stop minimizing yourself to other people, and you get to be yourself. So if this resonates, guys, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. And also, if this resonates with you and there's someone else that you know needs to hear this, then share it with someone else because it might help them too. See you in the next one.